The courtroom doors swung open. Everyone knew something historic was about to happen, but no one, not even the most seasoned political analysts, could predict the absolute demolition that was coming. Trump had arrived, and the false narratives that had been built against him for years, they were about to crumble into dust. The atmosphere was electric, heavy oak doors, marble floors, high ceilings that seemed to amplify every whisper. Rows of journalists clutched their notebooks, cameras positioned at every angle, courtroom sketchers poised with charcoal in hand, then footsteps, confident, measured, purposeful. Donald J. Trump entered the courtroom like a commander entering a battlefield he'd already won. Navy suit, red tie, that unmistakable presence that filled every inch of space. His legal team flanked him, sharp, prepared, armed with evidence that would change everything. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look worried. He looked ready. The gallery fell silent. Every eye locked on him, some with hope, others with dread. Prosecutors shuffled papers nervously. They tried to look confident, but the tension in their shoulders betrayed them. This wasn't just another court appearance. This was the moment where years of false accusations, manufactured scandals, and media-driven narratives would be systematically dismantled. Trump took his seat, calm, collected, dominant. The judge entered. The room stood. The proceedings began. But everyone in that room knew this wasn't a typical trial. This was theater, high stakes political warfare, a battle between truth and deception. And Trump wasn't here to defend. He was here to destroy. The air thickened with anticipation. Cameras zoomed in. Reporters leaned forward. History was about to be written, and Donald Trump was holding the pen. For months, the mainstream media had been salivating. They predicted his downfall, his humiliation, his defeat. CNN panels laughed confidently. MSNBC hosts declared it was the beginning of the end. Pundits on every network echoed the same tired narrative. Trump is cornered. He has no defense. This time, he's finally done. They built elaborate theories, spun complex webs of supposed evidence, created headlines designed to destroy his reputation permanently. Prosecutors arrived with boxes of documents, mountains of testimony, witnesses they claimed were bulletproof. They thought they had him. The opposing legal team wore smug expressions. They whispered confidently among themselves. They glanced at Trump with barely concealed satisfaction. This was supposed to be their moment, their vindication, their proof that they'd been right all along. Political opponents sent out fundraising emails celebrating prematurely. Social media erupted with hashtags predicting his demise. Hollywood celebrities tweeted gleefully. Liberal commentators prepared their victory speeches. The establishment thought they'd finally constructed the perfect trap. Years of investigations, endless grand juries, leaked testimonies, anonymous sources, all leading to this moment. They expected Trump to crumble, to fumble, to desperately scramble for explanations. They expected weakness. They expected defeat. They expected surrender. But they forgot one critical thing. They weren't dealing with a typical politician. They were dealing with Donald J. Trump, a man who'd been underestimated his entire life, a man who'd turned every attack into fuel, a man who'd mastered the art of the counterpunch. And they were about to learn once again that underestimating Trump was the most costly mistake they could make. The prosecution stood to present their case, confident, prepared, certain. They had no idea what was coming. The prosecutor began. Long-winded accusations, dramatic pauses, theatrical gestures meant to sway the room. But then Trump's lead attorney stood, calm, methodical, razor sharp. Your Honor, we have evidence that completely contradicts every claim made here today. The room tensed. Documents were presented, not just papers, irrefutable proof, emails, timestamps, video evidence, testimonies from credible witnesses the prosecution had conveniently ignored. One by one, the false narratives began to crumble. The prosecutor claimed Trump had acted improperly on a specific date. Trump's team presented his detailed schedule, proving he was across the country that day. Camera footage confirmed it. Multiple witnesses corroborated it. The narrative destroyed. The prosecutor claimed financial impropriety. Trump's accountants presented meticulous records, audited, verified, transparent, every transaction accounted for, every detail documented. The narrative obliterated. They claimed he'd made statements he never made. Trump's team played the full, unedited recordings, context restored, lies exposed, media manipulation revealed in real time. The narrative annihilated. With each piece of evidence, the courtroom atmosphere shifted. Journalists stopped typing. Prosecutors started sweating. The smug expressions melted into confusion, then concern, then panic. Trump sat motionless, confident, watching his legal team execute the plan with surgical precision. This wasn't defense. This was offense. This was a masterclass in courtroom strategy. Every false claim dissected, every lie exposed, every manufactured scandal torn apart by facts, evidence, and truth. The judge leaned forward, examining the documents personally, eyebrows raised. Even the judge appeared stunned by the thoroughness of the evidence. Trump's attorney continued, voice steady and commanding. Your Honor, these accusations weren't just wrong, they were deliberately fabricated. The evidence shows a coordinated effort to mislead this court and the American people. The words hung in the air like a verdict already delivered. The prosecution table looked like a crime scene, papers scattered, whispered panic, frantic, searching for responses that didn't exist. They had nothing, no rebuttal, no counter evidence, just exposed lies and shattered narratives. Trump remained stoic, but those who knew him could see it, the slightest hint of a knowing smile. He knew this moment was coming. He'd prepared for it. And now it was unfolding exactly as planned. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Not loud chaos, but the kind of silent explosion that happens when reality shatters expectation. Reporters frantically typed, phones buzzed with breaking news alerts, camera operators zoomed in, capturing every stunned face. The lead prosecutor stood frozen, mouth slightly open, unable to form words. His co-counsel shuffled through papers desperately, searching for something, anything to salvage their case. They found nothing. Journalists in the gallery exchanged shocked glances. This wasn't supposed to happen. Their narrative, the one they'd built and protected for years, was collapsing in real time. Outside the courtroom, news vans scrambled. Producers screamed into headsets, demanding updates. Anchors prepared to pivot their coverage fast. Social media exploded. Conservative accounts erupted in celebration. Liberal accounts went silent, then scrambled for damage control. Hashtags trended within minutes on Trump victory. False narratives exposed. Media lies destroyed. Inside the courtroom, the judge called for order, but the psychological order was already shattered. The prosecution had arrived with confidence. Now they sat deflated, exposed, humiliated. Their star witnesses, credibility destroyed by cross-examination and contradictory evidence. Their documentary evidence proven incomplete, misleading, or outright fabricated. Their legal theories dismantled by constitutional scholars Trump's team had waiting in reserve. One by one, every pillar of their case collapsed. Not weakened, not challenged, completely destroyed. Trump's legal team didn't just defend, they counterattacked with devastating precision. They exposed the origins of the false narratives. They revealed the coordination between media outlets and political operatives. They demonstrated how leaked information had been deliberately manipulated. The prosecution wasn't just losing, they were being exposed, and the entire world was watching. Cameras captured every moment, every stunned expression, every fumbled response, every desperate attempt to regain control, but control was gone. Trump had seized it completely. The narrative had flipped, and there was no going back. This was vintage Trump. Under pressure, he thrived, cornered, he attacked, underestimated, he dominated. While others would have wilted under years of investigations, Trump had done something different. He'd prepared meticulously, strategically, brilliantly. His legal team wasn't just expensive, they were surgical. Every angle covered, every possible attack anticipated, every piece of evidence cataloged and ready. But more than that, Trump had done what his opponents never expected. He'd told the truth, simple, straightforward, documented. While his accusers built elaborate conspiracies, Trump had simply maintained accurate records. While they spun complex narratives, he'd operated transparently, at least where the law was concerned. His business records were meticulous. His communications were documented. His schedules were verifiable. The media had painted him as chaotic and reckless. But in that courtroom, the evidence showed something different: precision, organization, strategic thinking. Trump sat at the defense table, occasionally leaning toward his attorneys, whispering strategic insights. His decades of business negotiations had prepared him for exactly this. He understood leverage, he understood timing, he understood that in any confrontation, controlling the narrative was everything, and he just seized complete control. His opponents had spent years building their case in the media, but media narratives don't survive courtroom scrutiny. Speculation doesn't withstand cross-examination. Anonymous sources can't testify under oath. And when the truth finally emerged, documented, verified, irrefutable, the false narratives didn't just weaken, they disintegrated. Trump's genius was in his patience. He could have lashed out earlier, could have responded to every accusation in real time. Instead, he waited. He let them commit fully to their lies. He let them invest everything into narratives that were fundamentally false. And then, in the most public forum possible, he systematically destroyed them. Not with tweets, not with rally speeches, with evidence, facts, truth, the very things the media claimed he didn't have. His attorney presented the final piece of evidence, a comprehensive timeline that made the prosecution's entire theory impossible. Not improbable, impossible. The judge examined it carefully. The prosecution had no response. Trump remained calm because he'd known all along. This wasn't luck. This wasn't chance. This was masterful strategy executed to perfection, and the world was witnessing it in real time. Just when it seemed the prosecution couldn't sink lower, Trump's team unveiled something unexpected, a counterclaim. The courtroom stirred. What was this? Trump's lead attorney addressed the judge directly. Your Honor, the evidence doesn't just exonerate my client, it reveals something far more serious. Pause. The room held its breath. It reveals a coordinated effort to manufacture evidence, mislead investigators, and weaponize the judicial system for political purposes. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The prosecution table went pale. This wasn't just defense anymore. This was offense. Trump wasn't satisfied with merely proving his innocence. He was exposing the entire operation against him. His legal team presented communications between prosecutors and media outlets, coordination of leaks, strategic timing of announcements, evidence of witnesses being coached, documents showing political motivation behind the investigation. This was the twist no one saw coming. The media had portrayed Trump as the defendant desperately fighting charges, but in reality, he'd been building a counter case the entire time, gathering evidence of prosecutorial misconduct, documenting media collaboration, preparing not just to defend, but to attack. And now, with his innocence established, he was unleashing the counteroffensive. The judge's expression shifted from neutral to deeply concerned. These were serious allegations. If proven, they didn't just dismiss the case against Trump. They opened investigations into his accusers. The tables had completely turned. Prosecutors who'd arrived confident were now facing potential ethics violations. Media outlets that had celebrated prematurely were now implicated in coordination schemes. Political operatives who'd orchestrated the attack were now exposed. Trump's team presented email chains, text messages, meeting schedules that showed clear coordination. This wasn't conspiracy theory. This was documented fact. The prosecution requested a recess. The judge granted it. As the courtroom emptied for the break, Journalists sprinted to file reports. This story had just exploded in a completely unexpected direction. Trump stood, adjusted his tie, and walked calmly toward the exit. No rushed departure, no desperate scrambling, just confident, measured steps. Because he'd planned this moment. He'd known that truth, when finally revealed, wouldn't just defend him. It would destroy his attackers. And that's exactly what was happening. The break lasted 20 minutes. But in those 20 minutes, the news cycle exploded worldwide. Headlines shifted in real time. Trump presents evidence of prosecutorial misconduct. Coordinated effort to target Trump exposed in court. Media implicated in political prosecution scheme. The narrative had completely flipped, and when the courtroom reconvened, everyone knew this wasn't about Trump defending himself anymore. This was about his accusers desperately trying to avoid accountability. The hunter had become the hunted, and Trump was just getting started. Outside the courthouse, the scene was pandemonium. MAGA supporters who'd gathered since dawn erupted in celebration. Red hats waved like victory flags. Chants of Trump, Trump, Trump echoed through the streets. American flags unfurled. Signs reading "Truth Prevails" and "Fake News Exposed" held high. Social media exploded with energy. Conservative accounts that had been ridiculed for supporting Trump now vindicated. Video clips from the courtroom proceedings went viral instantly. Millions of views within minutes. Shares, retweets, comments flooding in. Trump victory trended #1 globally. False narratives destroyed right behind it. Liberal commentators who'd been celebrating prematurely went silent. Some deleted tweets, others scrambled to spin the developments, but the evidence was too clear, the truth too obvious. No amount of spin could salvage the narrative now. Trump supporters flooded platforms with "I told you so" energy. "We knew all along. The truth always wins. Trump never backs down." Rally footage from months prior resurfaced. Trump telling crowds, "They're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way." Those words now seemed prophetic. The coordinated effort exposed in court proved exactly what he'd been saying. This wasn't about legal violations. This was about political targeting, and the American people were watching it unfold in real time. Donations poured into Trump's campaign. Fundraising sites crashed from traffic volume. Supporter enthusiasm reached fever pitch. Meanwhile, establishment Republicans who distanced themselves from Trump scrambled to realign. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be on the winning side. Conservative media personalities delivered passionate monologues. "This is why we supported him. This is the fighter we needed. This is what draining the swamp looks like." Cable news ratings surged. Everyone wanted to watch history being made. Even networks that hated Trump couldn't resist covering it. The story was too big, too dramatic, too consequential. International media picked up the coverage. Global headlines focused on the American political earthquake. Trump allies around the world celebrated. Populist leaders pointed to the developments as vindication of their own battles against establishment corruption. Inside his campaign headquarters, staff celebrated. Phone banks lit up with volunteers eager to help. The energy was electric. Merchandise sales spiked. Event registrations flooded in. This wasn't just a legal victory. This was a political resurgence. Trump had turned a prosecution into a platform, a courtroom into a stage, an attack into an opportunity. And his supporters recognized the mastery of it. They'd watched him endure years of attacks, years of investigations, years of accusations. And now, in one stunning courtroom performance, he'd vindicated their faith. The movement wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, stronger than ever, because truth had prevailed, and Trump had been the vessel for that truth. The energy outside the courthouse was just a preview. This momentum would carry into rallies, town halls, campaign events. The false narratives were destroyed, and the movement was unleashed. But this was only the beginning. Trump's legal victory in court was monumental, but his plans extended far beyond one courtroom. As he exited the courthouse, surrounded by his legal team and security, he paused at the microphone stand. Reporters swarmed, questions shouted from every direction. Trump raised his hand. Silence. Today, the truth won, he began, voice strong and clear. The false narratives built against me, against all of us, have been exposed and destroyed. Cheers from supporters. But this isn't just about me. This is about every American who's been lied to, every family targeted by corrupt systems, every voice silenced by a weaponized media. The crowd roared approval. What you witnessed today is just the start. We're not done fighting. We're not done exposing. We're not done winning. He paused for effect. The swamp thought they could take me down. Instead, we're draining it completely. More cheers. Stay tuned. What's coming next will shock the world even more than what happened today. With that, he turned and walked toward his vehicle, confident, victorious, unstoppable. The statement left everyone buzzing. What did he mean? What was coming next? Speculation exploded immediately. Would he pursue charges against those who targeted him? Would he expose more corruption? Would he launch new political initiatives? Trump's genius was in creating anticipation. He didn't just win, he teased the next chapter, keeping supporters energized, keeping media obsessed, keeping opponents terrified. Political analysts scrambled to predict his next move. Some suggested he'd file civil suits against media outlets. Others predicted criminal referrals for prosecutorial misconduct. Still others speculated about broader political reforms. But Trump kept his cards close. He'd learned long ago that revealing strategy prematurely was tactical suicide. Instead, he let the speculation build, let the energy compound, let the momentum grow. His campaign team hinted at major announcements coming soon. Rally schedules expanded, battleground state visits planned, major policy speeches prepared. This courtroom victory wasn't the conclusion. It was the launching pad, and everyone, supporters and opponents alike, knew something massive was brewing. The 2024 landscape had just shifted dramatically. Trump wasn't damaged, he was energized. His base wasn't discouraged, it was mobilized. His message wasn't weakened, it was validated. Donors opened their wallets, volunteers signed up in droves, event venues booked to capacity. The movement wasn't just alive, it was exploding. And Trump stood at the center, orchestrating every move with the precision of a master strategist. What would he do next? How would he leverage this victory? Where would he strike next? Those questions dominated every political conversation. And Trump? He smiled, knowing the best was yet to come. The courtroom victory was chapter one. The full story was still being written, and Donald J. Trump was holding the pen. The sun set on the courthouse that day, but it rose on a new political reality. Trump had walked into that courtroom facing years of accumulated accusations, narratives built by a hostile media, investigations fueled by political opponents, a coordinated establishment effort to destroy him. And he'd walked out victorious, not just acquitted, vindicated, not just defended, triumphant. The false narratives weren't just challenged, they were obliterated. Every lie exposed, every manipulation revealed, every coordinated attack dismantled. His opponents had thrown everything at him, the full weight of media institutions, the power of federal investigations, the machinery of political prosecution, and he'd withstood it all, not by retreating, not by compromising, not by surrendering, but by fighting back with truth, evidence, and strategic brilliance. This is what made Trump different. Any other politician would have folded, would have negotiated, would have accepted a plea deal, even if innocent, just to make it go away. But not Trump. He fought. Every accusation he challenged, every narrative he exposed, every attack he countered. And in that courtroom, the world saw why millions supported him, not because he was perfect, but because he was a fighter, a warrior who refused to surrender truth for convenience, a leader who stood firm when institutions demanded submission. As his motorcade left the courthouse, supporters lined the streets, flags waving, signs held high, chants echoing. 4 more years. Trump 2024, truth prevails. Inside the vehicle, Trump looked out at the crowds. Years of attacks flashed through memory. Every fake scandal, every manufactured controversy, every coordinated hit piece, and now vindication. But he wasn't satisfied. Winning this battle wasn't enough. He wanted to win the war, to restore accountability, to drain the swamp completely, to rebuild a system where truth mattered and corruption faced consequences. This courtroom victory was a weapon, proof that the narratives were false, evidence that the system was corrupt, ammunition for the larger fight ahead. Trump picked up his phone, messages from allies worldwide, congratulations from supporters, strategy notes from his team. He scrolled through them, already thinking 10 moves ahead, because that's what leaders do. They don't just react to the current battle, they plan for the next war. And Trump was planning something massive. The courthouse doors closed behind him that day. But a new chapter opened, one where the hunted became the hunter, where the accused became the accuser, where the defendant became the prosecutor. The establishment had tried to destroy him. Instead, they'd unleashed something far more powerful, a movement energized by vindication, a leader proven by fire, a truth that could no longer be suppressed. Donald J. Trump walked into that courtroom alone, facing an entire system aligned against him. He walked out victorious with millions standing behind him. The false narratives were destroyed. The truth was exposed. The victory was complete. And the best part, he was just getting started. The courtroom battle was won. But the war for America's future, that was still being fought. And Trump had just proven once again that underestimating him was the most dangerous mistake his enemies could make. The sun set, the courthouse emptied, the news cycle moved forward. But one truth remained, undeniable and permanent. Trump had faced the storm, and he'd emerged stronger than ever, victorious, vindicated, unstoppable, the end.